If you work as a manufacturing facilities engineer, installing a new piece of equipment can be as complex as the machinery itself. From prep work to alignment and testing, it's your team's job to put it all together. That's why it's good to have Grainger on your side. With industrial-grade products and next-day delivery, Grainger helps ensure you have everything you need close at hand through every step of the installation. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Hey friends, we are back with yet another Encore episode of Girls Gone Hallmark. This time it's the Love on the Danube series of movies. These originally aired back in fall of 2024 on Hallmark Plus, and that's when we reviewed them, but we are re-airing our reviews in honor of their premiere on the Hallmark Channel. Enjoy!
This is a Bramble Jam podcast.
Welcome to Girls Gone Hallmark, a Hallmark review podcast. I'm Megan, and I'm a longtime Hallmark movie fan.
I'm Wendy. I'm a former Hallmark hater.
Today we're discussing Love on the Danube, Kissing Stars, which is streaming exclusively on the Hallmark Plus streaming platform. You can hang out with us when the podcast is over. We have 2 Instagram accounts, Girls Gone Hallmark, for all things Hallmark podcast related, and Megan and Wendy for everything but.
You won't see one mention of Hallmark over there. Well, maybe.
Maybe every once in a while.
Every once in a while. Hey, jump into our Hallmark Facebook group. It is called Girls Gone Hallmark. We are rounding out near like 800 people over there talking about Hallmark movies.
And if you're in that group and you know a Hallmark fan who might like that group, invite them to join. I'd love to hit 1,000 people in that group by the end of 2025.
Okay.
Hey, you can always email us at girlsgonehallmark@gmail.com with your thoughts on the podcast, on these movies. And I would like to share an email from listener Paula in regards to Love on the Danube Royal Getaway.
Okay.
She says, I enjoy the podcast, but I have one disagreement. This is the first one where the prince didn't become the king. Not much, but it's something. She also says, now I feel bad I'm not going on the cruise. I could be the single older lady that you could befriend.
Oh, little Catherine Disher. Huh?
Yeah, she could be our own personal Betty.
Totally. You know, I notoriously don't like the royal movies.
Right.
I know you've seen a bunch. Does the prince turn into the king usually? Or he's in line?
I think that's often the case. I don't know that we've ever seen one where he's just like, nah, man, I'm going to give it to my brother. That is a nice point that he just kind of steps out of line, goes against type. We have a handful of Hallmark news and notes items to share with you before we jump into this episode.
Yeah, we do. Tyler Hines told fans on Saturday during a Instagram Live, which I admittedly watched, he and his friend, photographer Joshua Schultz, are putting out a full-color coffee table book, which will feature 233 images of Tyler Hines.
Put it on your Christmas list.
Put it on your Christmas list. It's available for pre-order right now, and it costs $65.
I did watch the reel he posted promoting the book, and the reel alone is beautifully produced. So,
of course,
look, you could publish 233 Instagram photos of Tyler Hines, and the people would buy it. This is going to be a sellout.
You know, I got to say, so I was watching his live, and it was really quite sweet because he's like, oh my gosh, 700 people, 800 people, 900 people, 1,000 people are watching this. And he's like, this made me incredibly uncomfortable and like just going on. And I was like, come on, you're like the biggest star on the network. I'm like, are you really uncomfortable jumping on an Instagram Live just to talk about like what you got going on? But it was kind of sweet. And then also he did make a mention about the number of fake accounts claiming to be him or people he knows.
Uh-huh.
And he had made mention of like the official like Facebook group and like shouted out like I think he said Donna Joe over who runs the group and like stays real on top of it and tries to like, weed out the fakies.
Yeah, that's a
So
full-time job over there.
I can only imagine. But anyway, it was kind of cute and I can't believe that I watched it.
I saw the replay, and I did watch a little bit of it. He's just very natural, and I think your point about him being charmed by like the audience, I do get the impression that either he's a spectacular actor or he is just kind of a genuine dude who's not super affected by the fame of it all. Like he can enjoy it for what it is.
That is such a good point considering the movie we're going to review.
Oh, yeah.
Nice
tie-in.
I have some thoughts about that topic in particular when we get to our review, but I agree. I hope he's just like this good dude.
Well, we'll find out in about 1 month here. Last week, we mentioned actress Bethany Joy Lenz has a memoir coming out. It comes out on October 22nd and is called Dinner for Vampires, Life on a Cult TV Show. I do think there's like a little bit of a play on words there, right? Because wasn't she herself also in a cult?
She for 10 years. Yes. I read the article on heavy.com when I was putting these notes together. Yes, I think it's a play on words. But yes, she was involved in some sort of religious cult during that time.
Apparently it is getting good early reviews and is on the New York Times list of books to read this fall.
I gotta say, I'm kind of interested in reading it.
Me too.
You're kind of interested. I mean, I hope like she spills the tea, but like I doubt it. I bet it's.
I hope she does. Tell me everything. Tell me about the cult. Tell me about your co-stars and all the juicy tales there are to tell there. Right?
Okay, you read this next note because I know you're gonna know how to say this guy's name, and I know you have like a personal connection.
Well, Drake Hodgson, who, if you are a Days of Our Lives fan, is one John Black. He did pass over the weekend after a battle with pancreatic cancer. Allie Sweeney wrote a message about it. It was very touching. There were a number of members of the Days community who came out. I have a very good friend who has worked for Days of Our Lives since we were in college. Like he was an intern there. That was his first real job, and he's worked there ever since. And as soon as I heard the news, well, I was sitting at a baseball game with my husband, and he gets a text from a friend, and he was like, "Oh, no." And I said, "What happened?" He goes, "It's John." And I was like, "John who?" He goes, "John Black." Anyway, I immediately sent a message to my friend, and he mentioned just how devastated they all were. So our thoughts are with the Days of Our Lives community. That is a big loss.
So sad.
He did appear in the 2020 Hallmark movie Christmas Tree Lane with Alicia Witt and Andrew Walker. I know I've seen that movie, but I don't know if I recall that scene. All right, let's talk Love on the Danube, Kissing Stars with a synopsis.
Savannah, a publicist, reluctantly works with Tripp, a celebrity, who is having trouble connecting with his fans aboard a cruise promoting his latest film, stars Sarah Power and Brendan Penny.
Peter Benson directed Love on the Danube, Kissing Stars. Peter Benson is busy as both an actor and director with 170 acting credits and 17 directing credits. His other directorial projects include, recently, Blind Date Book Club, The Santa's Stakeout, Sweet Carolina, and The Wedding Veil Expectations.
Agnes Bristow and Andrea Canning wrote the script for Kissing Stars. Agnes Bristow has produced 31 movies and has written 8, including the upcoming My Sweet Austrian Holiday starring daughter Brittany Bristow and Will Kemp. Andrea Canning has 25 writing credits, including the love song installment of Love on the Danube. Her additional credits include A Merry Scottish Christmas, A Paris Proposal, and South Beach Love.
Sarah Powers stars as Savannah. Sarah has 30 acting credits, including her role as Abigail on the Good Witch series. She reunites with Good Witch co-star Catherine Disher in this installment of Love on the Danube.
I gotta tell you, I was like, I'm not familiar with Sarah Power. I don't think we've ever reviewed a movie with her. So I went back through her IMDb. And the last movie I actually did watch with her, and it was My Italian Christmas Memories.
Yes, which
Something
we
like
did not
that.
review for the podcast.
But it was so good. It was so good. It was such a good movie. So now I can put the name and the faces together because I couldn't remember where. Penny plays Trip. This marks Brendan's 59th acting credit. We've seen Brendan in The Wedding Cottage, Family Practice Mysteries, and Merry Measure, and Beverly Hills Wedding. Brendan stars in the upcoming A Novel Noel along with Julie Gonzalo in the Miracles of Christmas lineup.
Once again, Catherine Disher, Catherine Drysdale, and Mark Holden return as Betty, Teddy, and the captain.
Betty and Teddy. Gerald Kidd plays Rex Callahan. Gerald's 57 acting credits include a long-running role in the series Casualty, as well as a one-season thriller called Persons Unknown. Although this appears to be his mark performance, he did appear in the Sister Boniface, available to stream on BritBox.
Katie Sheridan plays Isla. We last saw Katie on Hallmark in 2022 in The Royal Nanny. Since then, she has appeared in Frankenstein, Legacy, The Jury, Murder Trial, and Bogeyville.
Johnny Weldon plays Master of Ceremonies Liam. Among his 18 acting credits includes a role in the Netflix series One Day, the Amazon Prime movie People We Hate at the Wedding, and the Netflix holiday movie Christmas at Mistletoe Farm.
What was your first impression of Kissing Stars?
Well, 3 movies later, I'm convinced this should be a 1-hour series.
Oh. My first impression is we did not get more boat stuff as we had once wished.
We did not. We did get a lot of like boat branding in this movie, though.
Yes,
So
I
in the
noticed
second
that.
movie, lots. All right, let's talk about what we liked about Kissing Stars.
First of all, I thought this was fun on a personal level with the Hallmark cruise looming about 5 weeks away. It feels like the storyline can't be accidental in that regard. Obviously, just to me, it seems like it's got to be inspired by, don't you think?
I do think so.
However, my favorite thing about this particular movie, and quite frankly, the trilogy of movies together, is the character of Betty. I think Catherine Disher gives such a warm performance. In this movie, particularly loved the way she reconnects with Rex, who's a total wowie zowie. And I think it gives us a much richer look at her character and her past. And so rather than being a supporting character, her story gets rounded out in this moment. We get to root for Betty instead of Betty being the cheerleader for love that she has been in the past few movies.
Yeah, I agree. She is a real standout across all 3 movies. I did like that we kind of got like you said, like a concluded storyline with her.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. She's great. She's super great. She should be in more Hallmark stuff. Yeah, and I agree with you too. Like I did think the through line here with the convention, the rom-com convention was funny. It's very meta. You know what I mean? And I do believe there's got to be like it was on purpose. It has to be. It's just funny. It was just so funny. I was like, I can't believe we're going to be living that in the next few weeks.
Right?
And I just hope that the stars don't act like Trip did.
Yes.
They couldn't be bothered.
Are there things you liked?
Yeah, you touched on both of mine, but I have one more. I did enjoy Brendan Penny and Sarah Power. I thought Brendan Penny was great. I like him in most things. I thought the pairing with Sarah Power was solid. I didn't think they were like, it wasn't like explosive chemistry, but
Yeah.
you know,
Not hot and
whatever.
spicy.
No, but I did really like the bike riding scene. Where they're like trying to get back to the boat, and then they take the bikes, and it's like beautiful scenery, and they're like riding down like the shoreline or whatever, and then they take a break and they share like how they feel about each other. I was like, oh, this is so nice and refreshing. I like this. I like that.
Yeah, me too. I liked that bike riding scene. And she's like, oh, can we take a break? I'm like, you don't look even a little bit tired.
I know. And honestly, I was like, how are these not e-bikes?
Yes. I was just going to say the same thing. Are they not electric? Could you not get a bird scooter in Budapest?
Something. I mean, I would be more apt to ride an e-bike than like a real bike, just
For
because-
sure. It's a long ride, apparently.
Right. They're both really far away. And I'm like, oh boy. Anyway, I liked that scene a lot. And actually in that scene, I'm watching this and the way it was shot was really beautiful. And I thought, oh, this is why people like Hallmark movies, because they're like dreamy. I know, 5 years later. They're dreamy.
Yes.
You can escape to it. Like they have these like perfect relationships and these moments that you can't really access in real life. I don't think. At least I don't.
I think that's a perfect summation of, yes, why people come to Hallmark, and kind of speaks to my thoughts on this collection in general. I think overall, these 3 movies, it does say on the app, the Love in the Danube collection. I do think there's certainly room for more of these movies. I really like your idea of it being a 1-hour series, which actually means like a 44-minute episode series, because I think that's a little more interesting. What I was trying to say is I think this series was fine. Like watching it, I found them very pleasant to watch and very easy to watch. And I think it really does speak to being very classically Hallmark, with the beautiful setting, with the low stakes drama, the tie-in with some characters who we could root for. I think these were solid, if not earth-shattering.
So it's funny when I look at the collection as a whole, the 3 movies, I like the first one the best out of all of them, I think. But when I say like they should be a series instead, I can't help but like harken back to The Love Boat, which was mentioned in this particular movie. I think it would be more interesting to get to like the brass tacks of the story of the couple in 44 minutes rather than it feels a little drawn out.
Yeah, that is why I'm drawn to the 1-hour format, because I agree, we don't necessarily, particularly once the setup has been made, like we get the whole boat situation. And I think part of why this movie works for me is because Betty's storyline was fleshed out a little bit more, and so it gave us more to root for. But I think, yes, 1 hour to get to the couples, and then we have a little bit, it's like a signed, seal, delivered, right? We could dig in more on the relationships on the boat if we're going to get those characters week after week. We don't just have to stick to them as like the captain and the cruise director and them being like helping along the narration of the love story. They can have their own storylines.
Right. Teddy needs a love interest. The captain needs a second chance romance. It can happen.
Yeah, and Teddy's love interest is probably going to have to be on board, because she said, like, I'm too transitory to be in a relationship with the job that I have right now.
And I think, like, first, okay, 2 thoughts. One, it doesn't necessarily have to be 44 minutes either, because it's on streaming. They have a little more flexibility there. It could be 52 minutes. You know what I mean? Like they don't have to break for commercial if it's going to stay streaming. You know how some Netflix shows will vary in their times, like if an episodic series.
For sure. It'll be like 25 minutes, 27 minutes, 31 minutes. Yeah. I think the reason I noticed that the Chicken Sisters, for example, is like set at like that 44-minute length. And I think Hallmark does it because they're like, I got this other programming that I need to make sure these are interchangeable when the time comes. But you're right. They don't have to be. And then they could, when that time comes, edit out those 6 minutes. You know what I mean? Like make it work.
Exactly. But I also think it leaves the door open for so many like Hallmark guest stars to come in. And like we mentioned before, like a mystery or like, like different directors or whatever. I think there's something to play with there. Yes. I don't know if I would be like interested in watching like another 3 movies in this. I'm Danube.
We're on the same page there. Speaking of Hallmark stars, can we talk wishes?
Sure.
I think there's a real missed opportunity to not have some Hallmark cameos on board the ship.
Totally.
I was like, you got all these other B plot stars who don't really have a lot going on other than Rex. Why did we not have fake stars? So there's got to be someone who's available, someone in the area.
Yeah, I think so. Like didn't they shoot this all at one time together?
You might be right. I don't know. I just would have enjoyed the Easter egg.
Yeah, that would have been a good idea. I like the Easter egg idea. So, you know what I was thinking? And this isn't really a wish, it was just an observation, and I'm just going to drop it here. I didn't really realize at first how the male leads in all three of these movies are like pretty big Hallmark stars, right?
Oh, uh-huh.
And it's like a male driven story. I would be interested perhaps in seeing it flipped to being like, or could we get a big female name attached to the next collection of movies?
Yeah, it is heavy on the male leads, especially in the second and third movies.
Yeah. I have two more wishes.
Okay.
I'm back to Catherine Disher.
Oh, yeah.
So for me, it was weird that like she was not romantically involved with Rex, but if she was going to end up with anybody, I thought it was Reynolds from the second movie.
Oh, uh-huh.
Not this actor dude who was just on the cruise. I thought it was weird.
Well, does it make you happy that they don't end up together, though?
Yes, it does, because I think she's destined for Reynolds. That's why.
I think it still leaves that open. I think it was just a nice moment for her to be seen. You know, he remembers that moment that they had. I agree. I didn't feel like Rex was endgame for Betty either.
And then the other thing is, I was so pissed for Savannah when Tripp denies being in a relationship, when he was questioned, when he was sitting on that panel. And if I remember correctly, it was because he was worried about his image as being a single leading man, right?
Uh-huh.
Therefore, he can't be in an actual real life relationship. So then it made me wonder, like, how common is that, like, for an actor to have to lead a very private life because he doesn't want it to ruin like his image as like a rom-com guy?
I was thinking a lot about not only that, like, could I be in a relationship with someone who doesn't publicly acknowledge it? Like, on the one hand, it's like, I don't want everybody up in my business. You know, I don't want to be subject to like paparazzi photos because someone's interested in the person I'm dating. But at the same time, I also don't want you to deny that we're in a relationship.
Yeah.
So I would not like that at all. I think it's fraught top to bottom, but my ego could not handle like you not publicly acknowledging me.
No, as a partner, forget about it.
No
way.
And maybe you don't call this person by name, but it would have been perfectly acceptable to be like, oh, well, there is someone in my life and it's new and I'm just seeing where it's going, or something more eloquent than that. You don't need to be like, that's her right there, the love of my life after 4 days, but acknowledge it.
Yeah, exactly. I was wondering, like, do our Hallmark stars do this? Like, you know, the one I could think of is like Tyler Hines, right? We know nothing about this man's personal life. Mm-hmm. And is that on purpose because he wants to convey this image, you know, when he makes these movies of like, he's this hot single guy. But part of me is like, dude, I mean, and not that this is even his thought process at all, but I was like, give your fans a little bit of credit. Like, I think we can understand and see the difference between like a character and somebody's real life, you know?
Yeah, with Tyler, my close personal friend, I've never really considered it to be like, I want to maintain this image as the hot single dude as much as I felt like I just want to keep something for myself, because the fans would be all over that. I could understand being like, I don't want people in on this part of my life. Not because I want you to think of me as like a hot, single, available dude so you can live out your Hallmark fantasies. But like, some things are just for me and not for the fans.
Sure. For sure.
Again, I probably wouldn't be great at that either, though. Why am I not in your Instagram feed, bro?
Because I'm sure he has a public one and then like a what are they called? A Finsta or something.
Oh, sure.
A spam account. You know, I think that's what my kid calls it.
Yes.
Anyway.
I have two little wishes.
Okay.
Back to my first impression. After your comments about not getting enough boat stuff in the first two movies, I was hyper aware of it watching this movie, and the extent to which they spend so little time on the boat and have all of these cruise related events off the boat, I thought was shocking. That's not going to be the case with our cruise. Another small thing is, as we mentioned, these are edited so that they can be made into TV releases. And so the commercial breaks are built in. And this happens a lot. I've seen this happen a lot. I haven't seen it happen recently, but one of the edits was really weird. Trip and Savannah are having a conversation and they're walking and he's talking about what she wants. And she's like, I want to be loved. I want to be happy. And then cut to commercial. I was like, it's a real awkward edit right there. Like there's no closure on that moment.
Yeah, that's weird.
It happens a lot. They're like, we don't know how to end this scene and we got to cut it for time. There we go. No big deal. Ready for Did you see that?
I am.
Did you clock Hallmark Jenny and her trip? Can we get a selfie cameo moment?
Totally. She had major cameos in this. Because not only that, there was one, she was behind Catherine one time, like waiting in line, and they showed her like up close several times.
Yes. Like she had a line and everything. That's really fun. I love that for her.
Very cool. Yeah, super fun. I was excited.
I also loved that giant Budapest airport sign. I'm like, that looks CGI'd on there.
It totally did. I forgot. I was going to look up like the Budapest airport.
Yes.
To look like, but
I swear we've seen whatever building this is in many other Hallmark movies used for the airport scene before. Just this like glass fronted building with a long sidewalk for taxis to be pulling up in front of many times.
yeah, I mean, is that the smallest airport you've ever seen?
They're like,
So crazy.
let's use this doctor's office frontage as our airport scene.
At one point, Brendan's character is wearing like those lederhosen socks or whatever.
Oh, uh-huh.
I had like forgotten like he had the socks on, and then I see him in this like next scene, and I thought he was wearing like compression socks, and I was like, oh, that's interesting. I was like, no dummy, it's part of the German costume here.
That is
I
funny.
don't know. I didn't hate it though. I thought it was kind of cute.
I didn't hate it either. And I thought it was real light and funny when he does that dance with the dudes in the beer garden.
Yeah,
It was fun.
it was cute. It was cute.
What'd you rate this movie?
I gave it 3.25 stars.
Oh, that's more than I thought. I gave it 3.
Well, I was looking back my last, there's no rhyme and reason at all. I gave the last one 3 and I didn't really like it. So I was like, well, I have to give this one a little bit better because I liked it better than that one. So anyway, there we are.
Well, cool. Thanks for listening to this episode of Girls Gone Hallmark. That's a wrap on the currently released episodes of the Love on the Danube trilogy, but we will continue our Hallmark Plus coverage. Stay tuned to our weekly schedules for what's coming there. We'll be back tomorrow with the Chicken Sisters, also on Hallmark Plus. Goodbye. All right, friends, before we go, just a quick heads up. You're about to hear some ads. These little gems help us keep the show running and the Hallmark love flowing. So do with that info what you will. Grab a snack, hit the skip button, or maybe, just maybe, listen in and discover your new favorite product. Bye.